Welcome to the Great Debate Solar Series. We are here for the 2021 version of this series that my friend Tor Solar Fred Valenza and I started back in 2020. My name is Nico Johnson, and I'm so thankful that you are joining us live. See the numbers ticking up here, and you'll have to bear with me if my Wi-Fi plays well, then you'll be able to see all of this in real time. Nonetheless, we're recording and we will be able to replay it. Thanks to those of you who are watching live. I'll remind you that you can leave a comment in whatever platform you're on, and we, by the magic of multimedia, will receive that comment in our studio. We'll be able to serve it up to our guests and our amazing host, Tor Valenza, and we're going to have some fun here today. The Great Debate Solar Series, if you missed it, is something that Tor and I launched in the fall of 2020 with our friends from Solar Power Events, where we have solar experts debate the hottest topics facing the solar industry. As I mentioned before, I'm your host for this fun event. My name is Nico Johnson. I'm with Suncast Media, and I'm really looking forward to a lively discussion today between three residential solar financing experts that I know you are going to love. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you are not joining us live, but nonetheless watching this as a replay, I would like to thank you for joining us in any regard. Still leave your comments. We'll be watching them. We'll be hoping that you are sharing this on Twitter or whatever other platforms you prefer. My preference is LinkedIn. I know that Tor Solar Fred is super active on Twitter. Look, these discussions are so important as we grow and scale our solar industry and the storage industry. So I'd like to say thank you for, first and foremost, to Solar Power Events and Tor Solar Fred Valenza of UnThink Solar Marketing and Communications for helping support this series and bring it all together today. These debates will be coming to you in a series over the coming months. This is one of 5, the 5th on our road to SPI, the road to New Orleans with North America Smart Energy Week, will happen live on a live stage. That's right, live. Can you believe it? At the Solar Power Conference for North America, SPI, in New Orleans. I do hope you're going to join us there. I hope that you've already bought your tickets, booked your airfare, gotten your hotel room. We'll tell you all about how you can join us in New Orleans, as this, again, is the road to New Orleans. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't even believe that we're talking about having an actual event in person in 2021. I hope that you'll join us there. But now, without further ado, for our first Great Debate series of 2021, representatives from the residential solar finance industry, as I mentioned, will discuss the value of their respective financing solutions for supporting the consumers and installers in the solar industry. I'll note this is meant to be a friendly and informative debate, but all of our participants are rather passionate about how their financing can help grow the U.S. residential solar industry. Here to introduce them and moderate this conversation, your friend and mine, Mr. Tor Solar Fred Valenza. Tor, why don't you come up on stage with me, buddy?
Hey, Nico.
How you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
Boy, this is really an exciting event, and the last debate, if you guys didn't catch it, was great, and I'm sure this one's going to be just as good, and the coming ones.
I look forward to you doing an amazing job, Tor. I'm going to say bid adieu, as you can have more room here in the stage for our esteemed guests. But it's so good to see you, man. I can't wait to see you in person in New Orleans. I'll be back up at the end of the show to say goodbye.
We'll see you then. Thanks, Nico. All right, everybody. So we have 3 great dynamic debaters here, and I'm so grateful, and we're so grateful that they decided to join us and to lend their voices to the Great Solar Debate Series. So let me introduce them now. In the Property Assessed Clean Energy, or PACE corner, is Grayson Frazier, Director of Sales in Southern California for PACE Funding Group. Representing Power Purchase Agreements, or PPAs, is Meghan Nugdy. Let me do that again. I'm sorry, Meghan. Representing Power Purchase Agreements, or PPAs, is Meghan Nutting. She's the Executive Vice President of Policy and Communications at the Sunnova Energy Company. And in third and final corner, we have Doug Pierce, the Director of Field Sales at Sungage Financial. He will be representing solar loans. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tor.
Thanks for having us, Tor.
Yep. Before we get started, just some simple ground rules. This is sort of like the presidential debates. Everybody's going to get 2 minutes after to respond to the question. We have 5 questions. We'll then open it up for 1 minute responses, if any. I might have some follow-up questions and I'll call you out and you'll have 1 minute for that. And basically, we all have agreed not to talk over each other. So just raise your hand if you've got something to say. All right. So let's go to our first question. So first of all, we're talking about consumers buying, or somehow financing solar systems. And this question is about the value to them, and not just, about the ROI and payback, but there's also simplicity, there's convenience, and there's other aspects. So with that in mind, why do you each feel that your type of financing provides the best value for consumers? So Grayson, what about you? You've got 2 minutes to tell why PACE loans are the best value for consumers, and we're going to start right now.
Great. Thanks, Tor. So yeah, although solar can offer benefits in regards to savings from the utility and eventually pay for itself, with traditional lending, it still shows as debt. And we're talking, $25,000, $35,000, $50,000 sometimes. And, PACE financing, it doesn't show up as debt. It doesn't show up on a credit report, more like a tax assessment on the home. It's not going to affect the customer's ability to borrow elsewhere. Like I said, it stays with the property. And one of the biggest kind of benefits to that is it gets paid through the property taxes. And on that note, the interest rate is always super important with any type of financing, but especially solar. And, with PACE, the interest can be tax deductible to homeowners. So that can increase their savings, even more over time. Another thing to kind of talk about when it comes to convenience and simplicity is there's really no money out of pocket. So up until, their next property tax bill cycle, which could be this November or the following November, and, following November, it's 18 months away. So they can enjoy their solar system for up to 18 months with, not making a payment on it, still enjoying those benefits they would get with their solar. Just from a really simple point of view too, it's, people who own homes, they pay their property taxes, This just gets rolled into something they are paying. So it's not like a separate bill. So it kind of keeps things simple there. And as for the homeowners who may worry about maybe not getting approved, we don't look at FICO scores. So on average, we do approve more people in general. So it takes a little worry out of it for homeowners. So.
Thanks. All right, just under the 2 minute mark. What about you, Meghan? Why are PPAs the best value financing for residential solar? We got 2 minutes starting now.
All right. Well, I work for a company called Sunnova Energy Corporation. We are a residential solar and storage services provider. So we actually offer PPAs, leases, and loans. But on the PPA front, they're fantastic for customers, for homeowners, because there's no upfront cost for homeowners to install solar on their roofs, which can be a huge hurdle to overcome if there's no financing option. In addition, PPAs are priced so that customers save money, so that the price of the PPA is less than the retail utility rate. And on that note, it's a hedge against increasing utility rates. I can't name an example of a utility rate going down in my lifetime. And so as utility rates go up, what your electricity rate's going to be for the solar that you purchase. So I know it's especially, it's popular with people on fixed incomes, because that way they know what they'll be paying for electricity, possibly for the rest of their lives. At the same time with the PPA, it's a power purchase agreement, so that you only pay for the energy you produce. You don't pay for more. You don't have to overpay. It's just whatever your system produces, that's what you pay for. The solar on your roof increases your home value. And also, it's really important to have a system where your production is monitored so you can make sure that your system is functional. At the same time, not everyone has the tax appetite to claim the investment tax credit. And so that makes PPAs really valuable and really useful. So there's people, once again, on fixed incomes, there's low income families. And my company serves Puerto Rico as well. And Puerto Ricans don't pay federal taxes, and so they can't claim the ITC. PPAs have access to a permanent 10% investment tax credit for whenever the ITC drops. And on top of that, PPA providers like Sunnova pay for insurance and provide service for the life of the contract on everything we offer. It comes with the service. And something definitely will go wrong over the 20 to 25 years of your system's life.
Okay, Megan, sorry, I
right.
did not watch the clock myself, and I should have been done better. So she had an extra 10 seconds there, but hope that's okay with everybody. All right, now we're up to Doug. Why are loans the best value for consumers in buying solar?
Yeah, thanks, Tor. I think one of the unique parts of our industry, and it's been exciting to be part of for a little over a decade and a half now, is the fact that we have so many options that are available to consumers. So I think the reality is, for most homeowners, there's a fit for them, and there's not one size that fits all. And I think we'll all find today that some folks are lease customers or PPA customers, some are PACE and some are loan. I think when you step back and look at the broader market, where loans fit into that really comes into flexibility and providing a product that's good for the consumer, not just in the short term, but in the long term. So, I think when you look back at where we've come since I've certainly been in the industry, there was a time that loans were really not existent for solar. And in 2014, 72% of people financed their solar through a PPA. And nowadays that number is down to a little bit under 30%. So I think what we're finding is that consumers are educating themselves on the advantages of owning solar, and loan provides a really low cost capital, easy way to get there. Loans in particular, especially with Sungage, where I work, we provide really flexible opportunities for different payment options. You have 5, 10, 15, 20, or 25-year terms. That helps the consumer pick a payment that's good for them, but it also helps our product adapt to different markets and allow different payments that fit those different markets. So one final piece is that there's a convenience to the ease of closing the sale in the home, and consumers are generally looking for a fast, easy process to be able to go solar. So a conventional solar loan like ours is designed to provide them a low monthly payment up front, maintain that low monthly payment, and allow them to really own all of the incentives that are available with solar. These include federal tax credits, some state incentives, all of those. So I think when you're, as a consumer, able to materialize and take all of that, that's really where the value comes. And I think that's why we've seen the market really shift over the last decade to ownership.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Would someone like to follow up to any of these points? We've got some questions from the people on LinkedIn and YouTube. They have some questions, but what about you guys? You want to follow up? Yep. Megan, let me give you 1 minute starting now.
All right, tell me when I'm running out of time.
I will, sorry.
One thing I think that's really important as we consider all of this, and to be honest, since my company offers loans, I'm fully supportive of loans. But one big distinction there is the service side of things. Something will go wrong over the life of your system. You're going to have to replace the inverter at least once, probably the monitor at least twice. Like I said, we do a lot of work in Puerto Rico, and when Hurricanes Irma and Maria hit, a lot of systems were damaged, and we replaced and fixed all of those at no cost to our customers. So even if there's a manufacturer warranty, it might cover the actual panel or a part, but it doesn't cover labor costs. It doesn't schedule that labor for you. And as natural disasters like hurricanes and wildfires happen more, you want to make sure that your system is functional. So that's a really critical part to think about in all of this. And PPAs definitely come with service.
That's good. So that is an important point, that PPAs include O&M. Grayson and Doug, and you guys want to respond to that?
I can jump in. Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Megan. I've seen certainly the market shift in my time in solar. One unique part, I think, as solar has become more of a mainstream, product, and we're starting to see more of a mass adoption, is manufacturers are in a better place. And I've seen a lot of manufacturers certainly offering a lot of their warranties as a wrapped 25-year labor and material warranty. Certainly doesn't cover everything, but given that the incentives go to the consumer, the net savings for a loan versus a PPA are generally much, much greater. So, say the lifetime savings require you to take a few $100 of that to service the equipment, you're still way ahead on the solar loan. Also, the insurance industry has come a long way. What used to seem like a pretty risky asset is certainly a lot more stable today. And there's a lot more insurance, O&M, aftermarket type products that you can get to wrap all that stuff, which even added to a loan payment is still generally a lot cheaper than a PPA.
Thanks, Doug. Grayson, anything to add?
Not too much on that. I mean, we finance the system, and then after that, it's kind of between the homeowner and the contractor. But I had a quick question for Megan. Do you guys do prepaid PPAs and PPAs, or both, or just one or the other? I'm more just curious.
We do, yeah. We have something called a flex PPA. And that's where you can buy down your starting solar rate with an upfront payment. So say your payment's 15 cents a kilowatt hour, you can buy it down to 10 or 0. And then you get a discount for paying the entire thing in full, and potentially lock in no solar payments for 25 years. But we still offer service for the full 25 years if you do that.
Got it.
Cool. Wow, good. This is, again, why we do this debate. There's so much useful information for people to compare and contrast. I'm going to bring in just one quick question from YouTube from Kevin. He says, increasing the value of the home has been seen as a disincentive by a customer on a fixed income because it increases their annual tax cost. Who has some thoughts about that?
So yeah, go for it, Megan.
No, you go ahead. I'll go ahead.
I mean, I get asked this all the time on the property tax kind of side of things. And I mean, realistically, for property taxes to be adjusted for a homeowner, which I think is what Kevin's talking about, you have to have a pretty big increase in the property value, which is usually done by, additions or ADUs. I don't think the value that the home goes up justifies kind of a reassessment of the property taxes. So it doesn't really happen, at least on the property tax side of things.
And I would like to add that I believe, at least in California and possibly other states, the value of the value of solar is not assessed as part of it. So you're exempt from that, at least in California and maybe other states. Am I right about that, Megan?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of states exempt residential solar from property taxes. In some states, it's fairly clear that they're exempt, but you still have some property tax assessors trying to do it. And those states are definitely battlegrounds on the property tax front. So I know we've had fights about that. Well, California is exempt for now, although that exemption runs out and we'll have to fight it again, I think in 2024. Arizona, I know we've had that conversation. The Texas legislature almost voted on a bill a couple of days ago to clarify the property tax exemption, and then they didn't put it on the calendar. South Carolina did just pass a property tax exemption, making it clear, and I know Connecticut's considering one too. Although to me, it's already fairly clear in statute, and I think New York also has an exemption. Those are just the states I know best. But so a number of states have exemptions to property taxes. And if yours doesn't, you should definitely be fighting for one. Great,
useful information. Again, very exciting. Okay, let's move on to question 2. So now we've discussed the value to solar homeowners or potential solar homeowners. What about your financing solutions for the other side of the transaction to the installers? How is your type of financing going to grow their business? Megan, let's start with you. You've got 2 minutes.
All right, perfect. So we work really closely with dealers all across the country. We have over 500 dealers that we partner with, all local business owners, small business owners who know their local markets, and they're really critical to the growth of this industry. They are the engine of growth in this industry. And so we try to do everything we can to make their lives better and easier. What's important for residential solar salespeople and installers is that they have all the arrows in their quiver that are available. You want to be able to offer a lot of options to customers, and so you can make sure that you get the sale. So you want to have the cash option, you want to have PPAs, leases, loans, all of it. And so that way you respond to what the customer needs are. And at the same time, you don't want to train salespeople on a lot of platforms. You want to have one platform where they can go to get all of the different options that might possibly work for a customer. Otherwise, they'll only sell one thing, and then that will cut out some potential customers. At the same time, you want to know that the customer is taken care of so that you get a referral. So that's where, once again, where service comes in. You want to make sure the system is functioning 5, 10 years into its life, 25 years into its life. So that way, when their friends are asking them whether or not they should go solar and who they should work with, they work with you because their system is still functional. So it's all about referrals and all about the relationship with the customer. At the same time, since we're a large provider, a large service provider, we can use our relationship to get better pricing on modules, inverters, and other things, which is good for dealers and customers because we have that purchasing power.
Great. All right, with 22 seconds to spare. So you made up for the extra time I gave you last time. And it was my fault again. Okay, we're going to you, Doug. Why are loans the best financial partner for installers? Go, you got 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think, when you think of the solar sales process, it's generally fairly complex, right? You've got a homeowner that's trying to figure out how it's going to look. How are the economics going to play out for them? What are they eligible for? What manufacturer do they want to go with? So there's a ton of questions that can come up. And I think when it comes down to the financing aspect, it generally comes towards the end of the conversation. So, kind of where we step in and the solar loan industry steps in is we make that transaction really, really easy. And, most of our partners have really decided and made the business decision to sell, in their eyes, what's best for the consumer, which is to put a lot of the incentives and the federal and local incentives in the hands of the homeowner. And so by giving them that option, they need a kind of at the consumer's level, easy way to close the sale. And I think that's an important piece. So, we have mobile optimized portals that allow our reps to go in and see, and project savings, provide really easy proposals for homeowners to understand the value proposition. In addition to this, they're also able to go in and pick different terms and rates and things like that are going to fit the consumer's needs. So it provides them a bunch of tools to close the sale. On the backside, providing a service to the installer to help navigate their pipeline is also crucial. So making sure that we have at Sungage, we have a team of folks that their entire job is to work with our partners to help push projects forward, help them identify landmines, potential issues with certain projects, and it really gives them a lot of control into what their pipeline can look like. I think one of the last pieces too is understanding that getting paid is sometimes a hard problem. And having a payment process on our side where the money is there, you don't have to chase a homeowner for the check, is really valuable and makes it easy.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, Grayson, up to you. Why is PACE the best financing value for installers? You've got 2 minutes.
Cool. So, at PACE Funding, I've been here 5 years, and I've always seen such a focus on the contractor level. The way we kind of see it is, the homeowner will bring a deal once in their lifetime, or a project, and a contractor will bring anywhere from, a couple to a dozen to several hundred. So we try to put a large focus on them. As Doug mentioned with their kind of platform and portal, we have something similar through an app that these contractors can use while in a home, to very easily check customer eligibility, do the application, kind of run the numbers to see the savings and the benefits on that, and kind of tell the story. And on that note about kind of treating customers, it's our service level. I mean, every contractor has their own account manager, like myself back in the day, and like the other 30, 40 reps we have, and if there's any issue with when the contractor's in home, he can call, this account manager, kind of like hot on the button. They can answer any issues, any questions a homeowner might have. And we like that personal touch, because you don't want to necessarily, it feels better calling into someone and you've met with, and that's come in and trained your sales team and taking you out to lunch, or the occasional golf round, as opposed to some customer service rep that you've never met or spoken to before. So we really feel that personal touch is important.
Okay, sounds good. So we do have a question that is relevant here, but from the audience. But what about you? Any follow-ups first? Okay.
Actually, I have a question just for both Meghan and Doug. I know you guys have sales teams, but I mean, is it kind of allocated by region, or do you guys have more of like a in-house kind of sales team that's remote, versus out there generating business and managing the relationships in person?
Doug, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I can jump in there. We have a structure that kind of scratches both of those itches, right? I think there's different account and partner sizes and business sizes that require different needs. So we have some partners that are handled through an inside team, and we have regional servicing there depending on the time zone to help them out. And then we do some periodic, account visits from there. We also have a face-to-face team that's out and about on larger accounts. Kind of to your answer to your previous question, accounts really like to have that face-to-face sales training, operational support, and if it does feel good in a tail end of COVID world to be getting back and doing those things again. But yeah, I think you need both. That's on our side how we handle it.
Okay, Meghan, what about you? What does Sunnova do?
First of all, I love that Grayson is also asking questions and learning. This is
and
great.
You guys too.
I just think you guys are great. And seriously, I love this. I love that we're all learning from each other.
Yeah.
So our sales process is mostly our dealers do our sales because they know their markets. They can go to people's homes. Although, like Doug said, that's really changed over the past year, where people are now doing more things remotely. We also work really hard to generate leads. So we have sort of an inside sales team, and we work to push those leads to our dealers to make sure that they have access to really high quality people who are interested in going solar. And so we're really dependent on people, on locals who know their market, and then we try to support them in any way we can.
Cool. All right. Yes. Let's again, we all are in this together. And as I think Meghan pointed out in the beginning, there is the right financing for different people, but at the same time, we do want to see the differences. And so both consumers and installers will be able to evaluate in this really valuable chat. All right, I'm turning off my timer. I wanted to get to the YouTube question from Thomas on YouTube. No, was it that one? Yeah, I mean, there was a question about, I'm not finding it here, but I mean, basically it was the long tail. Like, how are each of you helping the small installers to, in third-party financing? I guess here it is on the screen. Seems institutional capital control deployment of third-party ownership, TPO, by way of controlling tax equity. Okay, how can a smaller pipeline of condensed rooftop resi projects, less than 25,000 projects, gain access to, I guess, tax equity? Is the question. Anybody want to tackle that? I guess that's more for you, Meghan. Yeah.
Maybe they mean commercial or commenced. Oh, okay. So Yeah, it's tough to gain access to tax equity unless you work with institutional investors, like you said. Mosaic years ago had this really interesting model where they tried to crowdfund financing. I think it was a lot of work for, not as much return as they would have liked, but that was I thought that was a cool model. Right now, there's something being discussed in Congress, and I feel like it has a very good chance. It's something called a direct pay option for the ITC. If you were around in the industry back in 2008, you probably remember this. There was something called the Treasury Grant Program, which was a cash grant in lieu of the tax credit. I was working for Solar City at the time, and we took advantage of that because it was after the 2008 economic crisis. So there's a proposal in Congress right now to implement direct pay. They're calling it direct pay instead of Treasury grant. For the ITC, there's different proposals. There's some that are 85% of the value of the ITC if they give you cash. Some are at 100%, but those are the two numbers I've heard. And I feel like that has actually a pretty good chance. It won't be in perpetuity, but I think we might be able to get it for a couple of years because Congress has really expressed its support for supporting our industry and addressing climate change. So that's one option. Other than that,
Sorry. Yeah, that's great, useful information, but we gotta, and I didn't give you but this was just useful information for everybody. Good to know. All right, we're gonna move on to our next question. And this is one that is dear to my heart. And so I hope you all answer it really well. And that is, we get a lot of people saying that solar is only for rich people, especially for utilities. That's one of their main arguments for trying to kill net metering right now. So to each of you, can loans be more inclusive for moderate income people? Let's start with Doug this time, 2 minutes.
Sure. Yeah, of all the questions you asked, I was actually most excited about this one when I looked at the sheet coming in. And I think Meghan hit the nail on the head with the direct pay option. I really don't think, in my opinion, this is a lender issue or a financier issue. This is really a subsidy issue, because when you think of folks that are in the lower income brackets, you need to be able to monetize the tax credit to be able to take advantage of multiple types of financing. If you're not able to do that, you're not able to take the tax credit, you're really forced in one of two options. You stay with the utility or you go with the PPA. So, I mean, I really do think this is a legislative issue that needs to be worked through, because there is an inequity. I know on our side, you can open credit. We've done things, and we're in the process of doing some pretty major things to open up credit as a whole. But really, the core issue is that if you're not able to take the tax credit, you're really not a great candidate for solar ownership in a lot of ways. So, I think that's a big piece, and at least can certainly be a Band-Aid in the short term for the folks that are interested in that. But it's not always the most flexible way to kind of future-proof your energy usage. And we really do push folks in a direction in the current program. I've seen some states have a version of this. I believe Hawaii has a version of this with their state tax credit, and it's been well received and largely successful when you look at their adoption rates there. So I think that's ultimately comes down to legislative issues. So I'm hoping for some positive things there.
Okay. With 10 seconds to spare, over to you, Grayson. So how is PACE going to help narrow the income gap, as it were, for solar?
So I'm glad Doug wasn't the only one excited for this question. It was a really good question. So yeah, traditionally speaking, in this matter, if you can afford an electric bill, then kind of reducing or eliminating that monthly cost over time by going solar shouldn't be an issue. But one of the biggest issues kind of in the home improvement space as a whole is, getting people approved, getting people qualified, and helping someone on the finance side help, get them approved, kind of be a mediator. So the majority of, traditional finance companies out there draw a line at bad credit or bad DTI, debt to income, and usually only allow one cosigner. Whereas with PACE, I mean, we look at household income, so we can allow multiple contributors to help get qualified. And adding to this, I mean, lower income families tend to have lower FICO scores, which could quickly eliminate them from other finance companies. But we at Pace don't look at FICO as kind of a requirement to get approved. It's more like being on time with your house payments. You have the equity and the income, which we're talking about now. But it definitely gives more opportunities for these lower income families and households to go solar. More people living there equals higher utility usage, higher electric bills. So yeah, we're proud of the fact that we help out these homeowners a fair amount.
Okay, 30 seconds to spare. You want to reserve that time, Grayson, for later? I will add it.
Sounds good.
Okay, Meghan, over to you. What about you and Sunnova trying to narrow this income gap for solar?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's critical that all homeowners have access to solar because of the savings and the increase in home value. With PPAs, like I said, we are able to claim the ITC that people are not able to claim. And if you're lower income on a fixed income, older, and you don't have the tax appetite, a PPA is a really good option because that way you don't have to claim the ITC yourself. At the same time, LBNL came up with a really good study recently. They showed that its third-party ownership is really increasing the adopters for solar, and mostly the downward trend in incomes is associated with third-party ownership. So right now across the U.S., I think something like 20% of solar adopters are less than 80% of area median income, and 42% are less than 120%. And that's for the most part because of third-party ownership options, because financing like third-party ownership, PPAs make solar a lot more accessible for people. And so as you decrease the incomes for people that can go solar, obviously it makes it more accessible. And what we've seen with the data, what the data shows is that over time, the income of people who are able to purchase their system has stayed the same, but for third-party ownership, that continues to decrease, and so we're serving more and more low-income customers. At the same time, I don't know how much time I have, 30 seconds. So at the same time, states and the federal government are looking into programs as they should. There was just a report looking at 40 different state programs that help serve low-income customers with solar, and I know the federal government is looking into various options to make sure that we expand accessibility and make it more equitable. So there's a lot that's going to happen, but we've done a lot to improve over time thanks to third-party ownership.
Perfect. Anybody have any responses to that?
Yeah, I have, I guess, two kind of points there. I think one, as a lending group as a whole, there's this big kind of talk track around getting folks approved. And I think it's important for consumers to get what they want. And if they want to go solar, they should be able to. But the consumer advocate in me just has a problem with kind of looking at traditional underwriting and just kind of throwing that aside, particularly in ways that attach like strong liens to your property in the case of like a PACE loan. So I think the problem there is if you're not able to actually take the ITC and realize some sort of benefit there, you're really stuck. And I think that's a major problem. The environmentalist in me is, let's just get solar out there however we can. But the person that's really focused on equality, I just have a lot of kind of like internal conflict on getting folks approved for solar when they're not able to afford it, or two, really able to take all the benefits that they should.
Let me ask each of you: do you feel like converting the ITC, the solar investment tax credit, to grants would just be better for all of your financing programs? I mean, they did that earlier, as Meghan pointed out, right after 2009, I guess, in the Recovery Act. But what do you say to just having cash grants to everybody, regardless of their investment, their tax equity appetite?
I'll go first. I think that would be great. I think it levels the playing field in a lot of ways for folks. And I think at the end of the day, that's really, as an industry, I think we should be focusing on is trying to have mass adoption of solar. It's good for our business owners. It's good for our planet. It's good for our consumers. So I think putting the dollars in their hands would be the best way to do it.
Meghan, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I should have specified. So if you're watching this, I'm sure you know the investment tax credit well. So there's a commercial investment tax credit and a residential investment tax credit, right? So they're the same right now, but eventually as they step down, if nothing changes, although I think it will, if nothing changes, the commercial tax credit has a permanent 10% ITC and the residential doesn't. But since there's that distinction made, Congress is also making that distinction on the direct pay side. And right now, from what I've heard, there's only conversations about offering direct pay for the commercial ITC to help raise tax equity. So for tax equity providers, there's fewer conversations happening on the residential ITC. And I've asked about that because once again, we offer loans and there just doesn't seem to be the same appetite in Congress for that. So just thinking through, what should be and then what's likely to be and what could be, that's sort of where things stand right now.
Okay, thanks. All right, unless you have anything burning to say, Grayson, should we move on?
No, nothing burning. I agree with them. If we can get it out more to more people, I think it's better. So yeah, I agree.
Okay. All righty. Moving on. So we've talked about the value to the solar homeowner, but what about later when it's time to sell? Which of your financings is the best for the seller and the buyer when that transaction happens after the solar has been installed for whatever, 1 year? In some cases, it could be 10 years in other cases. So Grayson, we'll start with Pace. What do you say?
So yeah, there are different school of thoughts on this topic, whether it's best to transfer it or pay it off at the time you sell the home. My opinion, I think it's paying it off is the easiest route to take. I mean, solar increases the value of the home, because electricity is cheaper. When you add the cost of the solar to the home value when selling it, it makes financial sense. And we understand at Pace that people do pay these things off early. So that's why we offer no prepayment penalties. You can do it in chunks. You can do it kind of as a whole. But kind of also going back to what Doug mentioned of just about finding the best loan for each person. I mean, I'm not here to obviously cram Pace loans down everyone's throats, but everyone's situation is different. So, if a homeowner came to me and say, hey, I'm looking for solar, but I'm going to sell my house in, 6 months or 12 months or even shorter than that, I would steer them maybe toward unsecured financing, just because with Pace, there's inherently more origination fees. So at the end of the day, it just comes out to being the best option for everyone's situation in their own kind of situation. So, yeah.
Okay. You have another 30 seconds added to your time. It's amazing. Meghan, what say you? I know there's a contract and it has to be, that's what you're doing when you sign a PPA. So it's usually for 20 years. People are kind of, that's a difficult transfer sometimes, they say. So what's your response to that?
Yeah, our contracts are actually 25 years, although I think we have a 10-year loan. So our contracts are 25 years, and we fully expect people to sell the house with the solar on it a number of times within that contract. So we have a customer care team that's well trained in making sure they know how to do these transfers. I heard a story once where one realtor was so thankful at how easy the process was and was so grateful to our customer care person that she sent her flowers and thank you. But there's a number of other benefits too, because PPAs increase your home value. They lock in your energy rates, so you can tell the person buying the home what they'll be paying for energy, and that can be really attractive to them. Once again, it comes with a warranty, a service, a production guarantee. And then, like I said, there's always the buyout option or the buy down option if that works for you better. And then the prospective buyer, when they take over the system, they don't have the hassle of figuring out how to deal with broken or underperforming system. So even if those products have a manufacturer's warranty, it could be really tricky getting the manufacturer to come out and make the repair. It could be tricky even getting through to them. So if you have a full service provider, like with a PPA loan or lease, if you have service with it, that will take care of the full system. When someone buys a house, they can take care of that for them. So that person can work on painting the back bedrooms, fixing the leaking faucet, repairing a fence, and the solar system isn't something they have to think about, while at the same time, they still have a lower cost of energy.
Okay. We're reserving 30 seconds for Meghan as well, so you guys can talk even more. Doug, finally, it's probably an even simpler process for loans, but why don't you talk about that in the home selling process?
Yeah, really the only time this becomes an issue for us is when the title company tells us the day before closing, right? So aside from that, to transfer a solar loan is a really simple process. This includes things like refinancing, sales, all those types of transactions that homeowners go through. I think where we shine on our side is making that process easy. It's easy to navigate. It's flexible. Homeowners can just pay the loan off. They can transfer it to the new homeowner, and it just makes the transaction, which can be a stressful time in someone's life, going through a sale and purchase of a home, a lot easier. One question or one common theme that I've seen is that owning the solar does add value, and I've had a pretty mixed results on folks saying that PPAs add value to the home. So I've just generally found that folks have a little bit more equity in the home, or some added value they can use in the instances they want to pay the loan off. Another huge advantage is our terms are shorter. So while you may do this several times in a 25-year lease, or I'm not sure what term is popular with Grayson and his PACE customers, but on our side, a lot of folks do 5 and 10 and 15-year loans, and generally then you go through that one time and it's done. So I think that's important to note. Also, appraisers I found have generally gotten their heads wrapped around solar. Not every appraiser has been quick to get on the train of how to appraise a home with solar. And as that's continuing to get better, I sold my home. It was a really easy process to have solar on top, and I definitely got a premium when I sold it.
Perfect. So we have a great question, I think, from a small installer, Jax on YouTube. He says many, and I'm assuming he's meaning loan companies require you to have done $500,000 or more in sales before you can offer a loan, but not offering loans hinders that growth. And yet the installer isn't the one being financed. As long as they can show they have completed projects properly, why have that high sales requirement? And I don't know if this is the same for PPA providers as well and for PACE, but let's start with you, Doug, and then we'll go through everybody.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing there really is the long tail of the industry, right? There are thousands of contractors across the U.S. that are of this size, whether it be they do solar as a secondary product, or they're just a small company starting out. So I know that on our side, we look at every partner uniquely and individually. We have a different vetting criteria for smaller startup businesses than we do large, or at least we scrutinize them in a slightly different way. So we have a lot of installers that are newer startup companies. And a lot of it really has to do with just the track record of that business owner. Have they owned businesses in the past? Do they themselves have a good credit score? There's a lot of things we can look at to facilitate. So I would say, give us a call.
Okay. Sounds good. So maybe, your loan company, like Sungage, will be able to work with you somehow. And yeah, that's a high bar. In my perspective about this, and I've been in the industry for 10 years, it does show a certain level of experience. So it shows that you've done a number of installations that this is going to be a good thing to finance. So I'll whether it's PPAs, PACE, or loans. Meghan, let's go to you. What do you say about that?
So we offer loans and as well as PPAs. Like I said, we work with over 500 dealers across the country and are adding more every single day. To be honest, I don't know what our partner review committee looks at when they're looking at partners. I know we like Doug said, we look at your credit and the systems you've done. But I also know that we really want to work with more dealers. And if you know your market and you're great at your market, we'd love it if you reached out to talk to us about potentially partnering with us.
Sounds good. Grayson?
Yeah, so at Pace, we don't really require any sales volumes. Realistically, I mean, we do check, their CSLB or their license track record, depending on what state they're in, just to make sure, no big violations or things of that nature. But I mean, realistically, a contractor could have started their business, a week ago, and as long as they're licensed, insured, and bonded, they can work with us. I mean, we all here on this call understand that the value of financing, and we kind of take it a step further for those new business owners or installers that they get set up and don't have to jump through 1,000 hoops to offer financing to maybe even their first customer, their first appointment. So yeah, we're not super stringent on that. It's obviously a fine balance, but yeah, no specific sales volume requirements to work with Pace.
Great. And we are running a little short on time, but I do kind of want to get to this question because I think it's an important one from Ben on YouTube, who wants to ask Meghan, with PPAs versus without an escalator clause, and how these clauses sometimes result in homeowners paying more for solar electricity when the retail costs don't rise. So a lot of times, you're anticipating the rise in energy costs, and a lot of PPAs have that 3% escalator. So Meghan, did we just lose you? Oh crap.
Tor, there was a question above while Megan's off, because it's PPA related by Perez Rivera, kind of about other energy efficient products and services. Did you guys see that question?
No, but go ahead.
Yeah, it was a great question, and obviously I'd love to answer it because we're not only solar financing. Pace was designed to look at a home and say, okay, what can we consider to be energy efficient? Obviously, solar is a no-brainer, and it's definitely our most popular product. But you can do energy efficient windows, cool roofs, energy storage, the batteries, HVAC, cool wall coating. I mean, there's so many products that you can finance that are considered energy efficient under kind of Pace requirements. And obviously, the more efficient a home is outside of potential solar panels, it just makes everything much cleaner. Lowers utility bills even more, and not only electricity, but we're talking water savings as well. We can finance drought tolerant landscaping. If a customer wants turf in the front yard or pavers, any sort of drought tolerant landscaping, we can finance. So it's like on both sides, saving electricity on their solar and on their water costs. So yeah, we look at kind of everything as a whole, and we finance multiple projects sometimes for one homeowner at a time. So
thanks, Grayson. Meghan, I don't know if you can quickly answer this question, but there was this question about escalators, and sometimes those escalators are more expensive than the actual utility rate rises. So how do you guys respond to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are constantly monitoring the markets where we offer solar and our escalators versus the utility rate escalators, and we're really particular about making sure that they stay lower than the utility escalators. So we look at historical data really closely to manage what our prices are, because obviously we want to be competitive compared to the utility. And then as rates go up, both for us and for the utility, we make sure we're still competitive.
Excellent. Okay, we got to quickly move to the last question, and that's about the general industry. I mean, we've talked about what's good for installers, what's good for consumers. For this one, and we're not going to have any time for follow-up, so this is kind of your closing statements. Why is your type of financing the best for growing the entire solar industry across the U.S.? There's a lot of states that are just, have very few installations, and we've got to reach them too. We're going to go with Meghan first.
All right, I'm going to talk fast. So third-party ownership, PPAs expand the number of homeowners who have access to solar, including low and moderate income customers. You can also take underperforming markets like Florida used to be, and once third-party ownership is offered, solar can really take off. PPAs increase accessibility to solar while also allowing consumers to participate in broader energy markets, which is something I didn't have time to get into before. But basically, because we have a 25-year relationship with the customer, as new tech options become available, so storage, for example, and anything else that comes up, we can retrofit your system and manage the entire system, help you if you want to make sure that you have energy if your power goes out regularly, for example, like happens in Puerto Rico. We also can facilitate our customers participating in other types of programs. There's one called Connected Solutions in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, where customers there, through us get an extra credit on their bills and additional value because we help sort of manage the fleet and the aggregate of the systems. We're also participating in ISO New England and sending energy there. And we can do that once again because we can aggregate a number of systems. And that's an additional benefit for customers, which is really valuable because as we have more conversations around net metering and what the net metering credit is, as utilities keep pushing to lower the net metering credit, you want to find other ways to monetize the value of your system. And you want to make sure someone's managing that for you. Someone's making sure you can participate in those programs. Someone can install storage for you, make sure your system is producing the way it should, fix it if it's not. And at some point, in maybe not the too distant future, you will want to cut the cord and not use your current utility as your provider. In which case, you're going to need a broader service provider who can make sure that your system is functioning, that you have access to power 100% of the time. And so there's a lot of exciting things happening now. And there's a lot of exciting things happening in the future that will allow you to monetize what you're doing if you work with a provider who offers financing and both service.
Perfect. Okay, Doug, your final thoughts on growing solar across the U.S. with loans?
Yeah, I think to Meghan's point about kind of future-proofing the homeowner's energy needs and what their future is going to look like is kind of a key part that I think the loan does a great job at, mainly because it provides you a flexibility to add features to the system pretty easily. So, when you look at the history of the consumer, it's just kind of where I started off. Solar felt very perplexing, and I think because of that, we saw third-party ownership really peak in 2014, and consumers have just started to see more options out there. So consumers want options, and they want the thing that's going to provide them the most value. And the reality of value and how most of our partners sell it is based off of the savings. And there's really no better way to get the savings that you want than to own it, right? So I think that's important. Two, as asset classes of solar have more time on the books, we're finding that they're really, really resilient. And what that means to consumers is it's a lower cost of capital. More folks are willing to throw their money into an investment that includes a solar portfolio. And through loans, that's where the consumer is trending, and we're able to kind of get those out to the market in a really easy way. So, I really do think that the numbers speak for where the consumer is going. So, watching solar continue to rise from a power source and watching the consumer choose solar loans, for me is just really kind of telling of the future. And as this asset class continues to perform, there's going to be more and more robust financing available to help stir that growth.
Great. All right. Grayson, you're going to get the final word here. What about PACE? How is it going to scale across the solar industry?
So, PACE being a relatively newer program, to the solar industry, first started in California, then moved to Florida, then Missouri. There's another state coming around the corner. But yeah, in the states we make it super simple for contractors to use us, especially right out of the gates, starting business, like I mentioned, and kind of even easier for homeowners to qualify, not looking at, FICO score. Our approval percentage is right around 75%. So it's, I can boast it's pretty high, allowing more people to, go green, go renewable with solar. And it allows people not to worry so much about their approval lots. They can focus on just the product and its benefits itself. Tying back to what I said earlier too, having the ability to get solar with no debt, it'd be more like a tax assessment on the property with other tax benefits, not only the tax credit we've talked about, but potentially writing off the interest of these loans can be huge for people. And then, as I mentioned before, no money out of pocket up until 18 months. You're combining with your property taxes. Your bill's already there. This just gets added to it. So homeowners do kind of love the idea of that. But yeah, we try to give the customer the most out of what they want and keep that relationship strong, because as I mentioned from one of the YouTube questions, we don't only finance solar. I mean, there's plenty of other products out there that are energy efficient and help in the general cause that we all love so much, and it's better for the environment. So yeah, the roofing, the cool wall, HVAC, literally any energy efficient home improvement we can do in combination with the solar. So yeah, we're in the business of making homes green, and with the support of other products, that argument's stronger, and makes the solar production even cleaner. So it's better for the homeowner, it's better for the community, and overall better for our world.
Great. Wow. Everybody, this is it. That's the end of our debate, but we've got Nico to come and wrap it all up. I want to personally thank you all. And Nico, come on stage and tell us what everybody's won. No, just kidding. All right,
what a fantastic discussion. We'll take this moment to say once again thanks to Grayson, Meghan, and Doug for taking the chance to join us here on stage out of your no doubt very, very busy day. We're so grateful and indebted to your organizations, PACE Funding, Sunnova, and Sungage. I will now turn to you, the audience, as we say goodbye to Grayson, Meghan, Doug, and Tor. The debate is not yet over. I would like to say thank you to you, Tor, for moderating such a lively debate, such a personal and fluid job that you've done today. I have to say, my job as a moderator is truly in jeopardy, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. As I said, the debate is not over. Next, you get to decide who won this great debate. We invite you to go over to mysuncast.com/debate. mysuncast.com/debate. That's where you'll see a poll from Mr. Tor Solar Fred on his Twitter profile, and you can vote on who won the debate. And now a quick reminder as well, we have 4 more of these coming up. You can check out that link that we've just mentioned, mysuncast.com/debate. Save the date for our upcoming debates and access all the other great content that is a part of the Smart America Energy, or the Smart Energy Week Road to New Orleans. Smart Energy Week is helping bring the great debate series to you as a part of their road to New Orleans. So you can check out the solarpowerinternational.com website as well for more information on that. Our next debate topic, which will be led as well by Tor and myself, is all about net energy metering. What is the value of net metering, and does it provide value to all ratepayers and utilities? You can follow at SolarFred and at MySuncast on Twitter for details on the debaters, the dates, and more coming soon. More importantly, go ahead and block out June 23rd at 2 p.m. for the next great debate. I would like to make a very special thank you to our production team, Alex Murillo and Glenda Johnson. You guys are amazing. As well as our partners at Solar Power Events for helping make this first installment of the Great Solar Debate 2021 possible. If you'd like to partner with us in forthcoming segments in any way, including suggesting topics, as we still have a couple that we are fine-tuning and polishing, please reach out, Nico at My Suncast, or you can fill out the inquiry form on the link that you see scrolling along the bottom right here. One last thing. Our final debate is going to be broadcast live. I know this is live, but I mean real life live. Not live stream, I mean on a stage in New Orleans at Solar Power ESI and Smart Energy Week 2021. Tor and I are definitely going to be there, and I hope to see you all in person in the Big Easy. You going to be there, Meghan?
I am in person.
Doug?
I'll be there.
All right, the heat's on. Grayson, are you going to be there?
Hi,
Oh,
guys. Of course I'll be there.
all right. We're 5 for 5. Don't forget, go to mysuncast.com/debate and vote today. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching this as a recording post-debate, I hope that you'll share this info with your friends and solar colleagues, solar consumers, your sister, your mom, your baker, your hairdresser, whoever it is that needs to know how they can finance their solar system. That's what this is all about. We're elevating the whole entire industry with this conversation. I was really, really impressed with the wealth of information that was shared from all of us here at Suncast, Solar Power Event, and UnThink Solar. Thank you, and see you again in the next great solar debate.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure.